Why Martin Bakole made a huge mistake. Martin Bakole fighting Joseph Parker on just 2 days notice is crazy. Make sure to stick around because I'm going to give you my thoughts on the whole situation. I'm also going to talk through the other fights from this amazing card. If you're new to the channel, my name's Lawrence Oswecki, a professional boxer and also a former member of GB amateur boxing team. Let's first talk about Callum Smith versus Joshua Buatsi. Callum Smith put on an absolute masterclass. The bodywork and combinations from Callum was like poetry in motion. I did pick Callum to win because I did spar him back in the day when I was on GB, so I knew how good he was. And he's also very experienced as an amateur in both a pro, so I knew he was a class act. I remember at the time, I was 81 kilos and he was 69, and I thought, I'll take it to him, rough him up, and I was shocked how good he was on the inside, as you've seen against Buatsi. I've actually sparred Buatsi too, but at the time, I was the #1 light heavyweight and he was brand new to the team. We've only done a couple of rounds, and like I say at the time, I was way more experienced. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe because it really helps the channel grow. And also hit the bell notification button so you don't miss a video. Buatsi's clearly talented, Olympic bronze medalist, but it looked like he had no game plan and zero defense. I honestly think the lack of activity has massively affected his development. He did show one thing, that he's hard as nails, he can take a shot. But what's the point of being a punch bag when you've got the tools to make the job easier? It doesn't make sense. And like I say, he's got the ability, but for some reason he seems to like to have a war. It was great to watch, great for the fans. You know, it was back and forth, and he showed toughness. But it was terrible for the old brain cells. And I also think Virgil Hunter might be the wrong coach for Buatsi. He seems to have taken that spark away that he had early in his career. Callum proved the doubters wrong and showed he's got plenty left. He's only ever been beaten by the best, the likes of Canelo and Beterbiev. I'm really looking forward to seeing who he fights next. As for Buatsi, there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made. Hamza Sheeraz versus Carlos Adamez. Straight off, absolute robbery, a draw, not a chance. This happens far too often in boxing. Adama's won clearly. I understand that Hamza is a Riyadh Season ambassador and maybe this swayed the judges. I don't know, but regardless, this shouldn't happen. Hamza losing to Adamez, a world-class operator, there's no shame in that, and he definitely would have learned some valuable lessons. It's part of the game, and when I say losing, in my opinion he did, and I think that opinion is shared by the boxing world. And I think Hamza did break his hand, which is a nightmare, but it's part of the game. Adamez's feet weren't the best, but he applied the pressure, he had good head movement, and he could punch. In a post-fight interview, Hamza did say, back to the drawing board, and you could see that he was devastated. But what I would say, he showed he belonged at that level. It's just a case of going away and making some adjustments. He's so big at the weight, I'm not sure if he's drained at the weight, because he was fighting like he was preserving his energy. I personally think he should move up. He was also fighting like he was looking for the perfect punch, instead of just letting his hands go. He should take a leaf out of Callum Smith's book, because he was the definition of letting your hands go. Kabayel versus Zhang. Kabayel is a problem, and I like what I've seen. What a statement, stopping Zhang. Nobody's done that to Zhang. Even Joseph Parker went life and death with Zhang, so what a statement. And yes, he did get dropped, but he got straight back up, and his head seemed clear, and he went straight back to work, zero fear. He systematically broke Zhang down with body shots, and after 2 rounds, Zhang was tired. Surprise, surprise. Generally speaking, Zhang's only dangerous for 5 rounds, but he's now broke his record. It's 2. I really like what I've seen from Kabayel. I think he's going to give a lot of heavyweights a lot of problems. His combination punching, his body work, his pressure. I can't wait to see him with the rest of the guys in the weight. He's a class example of how the smaller, faster guys in the heavyweight division can give the big guys problems. Exactly like the undisputed champion, Alexander Usyk. Unless Zhang starts training properly, doing his road work, and improves his cardio, he might as well retire. Dmitry Bivol versus Arthur Beterbiev. What a fight. Personally, I thought it was a draw, but it was that close, I couldn't argue either way. Bivol again, for me, won the early rounds, but Beterbiev did start much faster, but as the fight went on, he couldn't maintain it. Was it his age? Has Father Time caught up? I'm not too sure, but he did have 2 straps on his knees, you know, like his body's breaking down. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like I said, Bivol started well, but this time he held his feet a lot more, probably preserving energy, because in the first fight he definitely moved too much, which down the stretch is very tiring. And also the other likely reason, in order to keep Beterbiev off, you need to hold your feet, plant your feet, so you can sink them in. It's the only way to gain his respect, otherwise it's an uphill battle. And let's be honest, against Beterbiev, it's always going to be the case. It just depends on how steep that hill is. In those middle rounds, Beterbiev really turned the heat up and was looking dangerous, and he was all over Bivol like a rash. Credit to Bivol, he weathered the storm and stayed in there, and in the last quarter he boxed beautifully, and you could see that Beterbiev was tired. I feel like Bivol's youth was the deciding factor, because we know we're talking about the best of the best, but at this level it's about who's got the extra ingredients, you know, like power, stamina, tactics, and who wants it more. Quite often it comes down to what the judges like best. Do they like the long range boxing from Bivol or the power and the aggression from Beterbiev? It's now 1-1, a trilogy. I feel like the casual fan may not be interested in seeing it again. Me personally, I'd definitely watch it again. Or would you rather see both guys fight other people? Let me know in the comment section. Joseph Parker versus Martin Bakole. When I heard Daniel pulled out because of illness, I was gutted. But when I heard about the replacement being Martin Bakole, I was like, actually, not bad. And then the excitement started to build. When the fight started, straight away you could see that Bakole's condition was terrible. He looked like a man on holiday that came straight from the all-you-can-eat buffet and ready to sink 10 pints. The cheek of him to be wearing skinny jeans on his flight to Saudi, because trust me when I say, there was nothing skinny about him. His feet were glued to the floor. His hands still looked dangerous, but like I say, his feet weren't going nowhere. He was basically just relying on catching Parker on the way in without actually having to move his feet. He just looked sluggish, and putting it politely, fat. He looked far from a world-class athlete. And as we know, the fight didn't last long, and in the second round, an overhand right from Parker made Bakole do a dance and hit the deck. And those punches that land high on the head scramble your senses, and it's game over. Joseph Parker destroyed the so-called boogeyman. I seen 2 separate interviews after the fight of Bakole and his coach, both saying he had 4 months off, which is absolutely crazy, and he calls himself a world-class athlete. As an athlete, you should always have a good baseline fitness. As a fighter, you should never let your weight get too high, because you never know when an opportunity could come. Bakole was only 10 weeks away from his fight with the Jagba. I mean, he was starting camp with 0 fitness. I'm sorry to say, but he's been calling everybody out, talking about sparring, how he's beating everybody up, and then this happens. He should have been ready. There's a reason why sparring stays in sparring, because it means nothing. It's part of the preparation. When you bring a sparring partner in, they're there to do a job, to practice something, not to win a spar. I think Bakole started to believe his own hype and that he didn't need to train, combined with his coach shouting from the rooftop had him brainwashed. Let's give Parker some credit. Yes, he had the advantage, but he done what he had to do, and he's fought some great people in his career, never turned a fight down. I'd love to see him go on to fight for a world title again. I really think he's earned it. And regardless, after the fight, Bakole did say he went into the fight believing he could win. And also to mention, it was Billy Nelson that called the fight off, because on the night when I was watching it with the Pain Game lads, I wasn't sure. Beforehand, Billy Nelson had basically said that his man was unbeatable. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. When you allow your fighter to have 4 months off, this happens. Turkey's ensured, because he done him a favour, he will still be fighting in May, but he's lost his IBF eliminator. Wait a second, let's get this right. Before the fight, Bakole had multiple flights, no sleep, no training, overweight, and the flight dehydrates you, which isn't great for taking a shot. Jesus, what chance did he have? Fighting a world-class heavyweight with no preparation is suicide. He was trying to sleep in the changing room before the fight, for God's sake. Billy Nelson said it was life-changing money. How could Bakole turn it down? And that statement says it all. It was a payday. Saying that, I did say earlier that Bakole said he believed he could win. Call it bravery or stupidity. and I think the second one. And this is where you need a good coach and manager to protect the fighter and give them good advice. And Bakole wasn't, and that person was Billy Nelson. I can't help but think, I've got to say it, when Bakole gets paid, so does Billy Nelson, and he gets the cut of both the coach and the manager. It's a double whammy. Billy said 2 more fights, then he would like the rematch with Parker. All of a sudden, Bakole's not invincible, and he needs a few fights. In my opinion, this fight should never have been sanctioned. The heavyweight division is dangerous, and this was the most dangerous situation. Bakole had no sleep, jet lagged, no training, overweight, dehydrated. Say no more. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.